Let me tell you what, the start of the month, a bit chaotic. I want to start this video by giving a huge shout out to my new top tier wizard master patron, Daniel Garrett. Thank you so much for your support. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we are doing the mid-month wrap up. Before we get into that, please do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon and the link to the Discord if you want to help support what I do here. And guys, it has been an interesting reading month because basically I've DNF'd a couple things. I've kind of switched around. Like, I had a stack of books that I was planning to read, and then that stack of books completely changed based off the big books video that I made, and then I did a short that kind of followed the big books video. You can kind of check that out right there. And then based off of that, it's changed even more. Like, it's just, I keep changing my mind on what I want to read, and so this looks completely different than what I had initially planned. I had a couple carryovers that I have since finished. Let's kind of move things around. Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. This book is phenomenal. It's outstanding. It is world class. I do have a dedicated book review for this one coming out, but I'm going to tell you right now, I gave it a 10 out of 10 in that book review. If you want deeper thoughts, I think the book review is coming out on the 21st, so keep your eye out for that. But man, I have so much love for Hannivar and the way that Howard Andrew Jones has crafted this tale. It was so incredibly good. So be sure to check this one out. I'll have a link to all the books that I finished in the description box down below, including this one, so that you can go ahead and buy yourself a copy and start enjoying this wonderful sword and sorcery novel. It was amazing. So incredibly good. Then I finished The Rune Lords, book 1. This is technically kind of the sum of all men. And I gave this one about a 3.5 out of 5, but I found it intriguing enough that I want to continue the series. I had some mild complaints based on the magic system, where like some things aren't really explained very well early on, and so it led to some misconceptions in my brain that were then clarified at the end of the book. And it's kind of weird because it's got like soft magic systems and hard magic systems in this world, and it like jumps between the two a little bit. I like the characters. I like the conflict. It just, I don't know, there was something that I couldn't quite pin my finger on. It was like doing hard magic systems before Brandon Sanderson was doing them, which makes sense because Dave Farland was somebody that Sanderson studied under and took classes from Farland. And so it felt like pre-Sanderson kind of magic systems, and I don't know if it quite worked for me, but the magic system has a lot of like philosophy and morality tied into it that I thought was kind of cool. Kind of harkens to Warbreaker a little bit. I feel like Sanderson, while he was writing Warbreaker, was like, you know what? Like, the Rune Lords, I can kind of take the background building elements of this and do something different with it. And so that's kind of where I ended up on the Rune Lords. Very interesting, but not my favorite. Not, at least not yet, but I am planning on reading the first arc. Last night, I finished City of Songs by Anthony Ryan. This is book 3 in the 7 Swords. I would give this one about a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's my favorite in the series. I still think book 1 is my favorite, but this one was very intriguing. It kind of deals with artistry, and it's a murder mystery type of deal. And I know that Anthony Ryan writes murder mysteries, and this, if it's indicative of anything that, like, you know, his murder mysteries are like, I kind of want to check those out at some point. So, good job, Anthony. Good job. I know I should have said Anthony. I know in a previous video I was like, I'm going to start trying to say Anthony's name is Anthony Ryan, and I just failed. I then came back to an arc that I had kind of left on pause for I think 3 or 4 months. This is The Gorgon Incident and Other Stories by John Bierce. And what this is it's a collection of stories from the world of Mage Errant, spanning all the way from 500 years prior to the start of the story to currently within the story. And it was really, really good. It was some of John Bierce's best writing. Was every single story an absolute banger? No, I had mild critiques here and there, but I still think some of those stories were just so incredibly good. And that just leaves me right now with one John Beer's book that I haven't read yet, which is The Rack. And I believe it's pretty short. John told me it's pretty short. And I want to go and check that one out now so I can just kind of have read everything. But man, some of those stories were just incredibly good. Like, well worth the investment of time. And it's a longer collection. I believe it was longer. It was almost as long as some of the longest books in Mage Errant, but really good stuff there. And then what I'm currently reading right now is Small Town Problems by Chris Ritchie. This is a sci-fi. I don't know if I want to say it's like a first contact type of deal, but it kind of is a first contact sci-fi, but it's set in a small town. We're following this rancher. I'm only 13%. I started last night. I believe the main character's name is like Bill Porter. It's just a very good, kind of digestible sci-fi novel where he's kind of shot this alien that he kind of found out in his back barn. He calls the cops and then comes to find out it's like a bigger issue around town. And they've just been kind of keeping it quiet so the federal government doesn't get involved and have to kind of shush them up. And it's very enjoyable, very easy to read. And so far, I'm really enjoying this. It's been kind of on my digital ARC list now for about 3 or 4 months, I think. Could be longer. I don't know. Time is an illusion. But that is what I'm currently reading. And I'm also, I mentioned that Big Books video and the Big Books short. And then I did another short where I was just like looking at what was on my shelf. And then I saw the bookmark was still on chapter 6 of Servant of the Empire by Janie Wirtz. And I was like, you know what? I should rectify that. But instead of just continuing from where I left off, which is what I usually do, I restarted the book in its entirety because why not? Reasons. Because I make good life choices. That's why we decided to do that. I would say this is about a 4-star read at this point. Everything that bugged me the first time I tried to read through this doesn't bug me anymore. I'm about 50% through the book. You can see how beefy this is. And yeah, I'm very excited to wrap this one up. We're currently on a chapter where I think I know what's about to happen because it's crossing over a little bit with the Rift War. This kind of takes place before, during, and after the Rift War trilogy. Trilogy, quartet, trilogy. Yes, trilogy. We're going to go with trilogy. But we're in this kind of chapter where I'm like, this feels kind of familiar because they've dropped a line that kind of is like, oh, I kind of know what's coming. The chapter is named Chaos, and I'm like, I remember this character being in a chapter in this setting, and it was utter chaos. So we're about to get that chapter from another perspective, and I'm here for it. So yes, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm very glad to finally be back in the Empire Trilogy because it's one that I've been wanting to come back to for quite some time. Now that unfortunately leads us to the DNF section, and these are kind of DNFs. They're both my patron picks, so we're going to do with that information what we will. Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson. This one isn't poorly written. However, for me, as a reader, it took the theme of mushrooms a bit too far. It is very mushroom heavy. Like, I mean, the buildings are mushrooms. The people are mushrooms. There are mushroom people. They exude spores. They have mycelium beards. And then the main character's scared of mushrooms. And it was a bit too much mushroom for me. And so that one's just not to my taste. But I have since gifted my physical copy away. So I no longer have that to hold up for you. And then the other patron pick was, I believe, Battle Mage. No, not Battle Mage. The Age of Dread Book 1 by Stephen Arion. And I started this one, and it was a very rough first chapter. It's somebody sitting in a bar, and then it just tries to info dump the geography around me, and I have a page of just provinces that border it, and it was too much information too fast, and it was basically just close the book. No. I'm reacting this way. It's a no for me. However, I still want to read a Stephen Arion because I've been craving Stephen Arion. So Blood Mage is a good replacement for that. It's where I've been kind of needing to come back to. I have read 30% of this before, And I did that 30% was kind of on audio, and I want to do a physical eyes read. This is also another kind of fantasy murder mystery, and now that I know to expect it, because each book in this trilogy is kind of its own different thing, I kind of want to do that. And yeah, because Stephen Aryan is one of my favorite writers, and I want to read more of his work, especially since he's got a book coming out here soon. I believe The Blood-Dimmed Tide, which is book number 2 in his Mongolian historical fantasy series. Absolutely excited for that. And then the rest of the month, I am planning on reading these 4 books. That is The Torch That Ignites the Stars. I'm already 10% into this by Andrew Rowe. It's just been kind of put on pause while I finish out the Empire Trilogy, because that is a series that demands your focus. So this is Andrew Rowe, Arcane Ascension number 3. Already 10% into that. Then I am going to be doing, because I wanted to do a review copy, Daniel Thomas Valente's The Sins of Kings. The author was kind enough to not only provide me with a hardcover, but also the audiobook code, which is narrated by Ralph Lister. So I'm very excited for that one. And then, of course, I'm going to show my boy Tao Wong some love with the third cut. This is book number 9 in 1,000 Li. Great palate cleanser. And I think I'm going to probably jump into this post Servant of the Empire, and then this will be followed up by Arcane Ascension. And then I'm planning on closing out the month because of the big books. I told you guys to tell me what you wanted me to read, and overwhelmingly there was a consensus. It was Swan Song by Robert McCammon in this big beefy edition. And did you all know that Swan Song was also available on Kindle Unlimited? I sure didn't, but I do now. But that's what I'm planning to read for the rest of the month. And yeah, it's been a good reading month so far. I kind of had Tori from Tori Talks in. We did a TBR video, which you can look forward to towards the end of the month, where we played rock, paper, scissors. And yeah, the results were kind of interesting. But I'm going to tell you what, for my July TBR, I've never been more excited for a July TBR, or pretty much a TBR in general. This TBR is very high quality, and it's going to be stacked. That's all I've really got for you today, guys. So I hope your month so far has been going well, and you're getting some great reads in. You're enjoying some amazing weather, time outside with family and friends, and what have you. That's all I really got for you today, guys. So till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby.